Today's video, I'm going to be discussing whether I think you should buy an SN850 or save the money and go with an SN750, which is basically comparing a Gen 3 WD Black SSD to a Gen 4 drive. They're both very, very fast. Before we go on, I would like to mention, if you don't have Gen 4 support, you probably shouldn't be considering the SN850, but keep in mind that when you upgrade eventually to a Gen 4 or maybe even Gen 5 platform, that SSD will actually give you some benefit. Alright, now, the way I'm going to compare these, first of all, I'll show you my results in CrystalDisk, and this is my SN850. Now, I would like to point out, this is a 1 terabyte drive, the 850, and my 750 is only a 250 gigabyte drive. So it's going to be a little bit higher than this if you get them at the same capacity. And also for reference, here's my Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM hard drive. So let me just talk to you about my experience, because, people, other reviews, they can say, oh, it's 1.9 times faster, or it's 2 times faster, or whatever the number, it doesn't matter. What matters is, what is the actual experience using this? Have I noticed the difference? And I'll be honest, on daily usage, whether it's web browsing, playing a game, loading up Windows, there's like no difference at all. I can't notice it. I mean, sure, I could get a stopwatch out and test 10 different applications. Yeah, sure. I'll find it's faster, probably. I haven't been like, whoa, this is twice as fast as an SSD. I haven't been like that. Sure, you're transferring huge, like 20 gigabyte file. Okay, it's gonna be a lot faster. You can literally look at the thing and see it's going a lot faster. I'm sure that'll be nice. But, I mean, honestly, the only real purpose I see for this drive is transferring lots of data, or maybe if you're doing video editing with like 4K footage. I've been using this to edit on 1440p footage, and it's really, really fast. Like, this is amazing. But I was still doing great with my SN750. Let me go ahead and talk to you about pricing, and I'll give you my take on which one do you actually buy. Now, let's start off with low capacity, because this is interesting, right? Here I have Newegg pricing. This is also on Amazon, both these SSDs. They're like within a couple of bucks, so whichever, website you prefer to buy from, or, times change, prices change. They also have a little promo code. I don't know how much that saves you, but it's on both of these drives, the 850 and the 750. Now, the 850 is going for 120, and this for 70. The 750 for 70. That's a $50 difference. It's almost half the price to get a 750. And you say, oh yeah, that makes sense, it's half the speed. But quite honestly, this is a really fast Gen 3 drive. They're both extremely fast. But honestly, I mean, $50, when you buy a 500 gig drive, you are, most likely not you're most likely going for a budget-oriented build. Not necessarily, but in most cases, I would say. So why would you go spend so much money on this Gen 4 drive? There are other Gen 4 drives on the market, but in this case, we're specifically comparing the 850 to the 750. Now, keep in mind, for $120, you get a 500 gig 850. But you can get a terabyte for $10 more of a 750. Now, personally, I would rather have the extra capacity. Now, keep in mind, this does have the promo code, and this doesn't. This one right here doesn't. Although, okay, deals change, I understand. This is also a very nice sale. But, I mean, quite honestly, I would just rather have a larger capacity and a bit of a slower drive. It depends on what you're doing. It definitely depends on what you're doing. But for me, I would need a higher capacity. Also, the 1 terabyte, I've seen it for a lot cheaper than this. But $200 for a terabyte. Yeah, that's not very cheap. Sure, $70, right? Depends on how long you want to use it, what you're doing. Maybe, now, I'm not saying it's a bad option to go for this, but I'm saying, honestly, the 750 is definitely something to consider almost always. Now, another option would be like a 980 Pro from Samsung. I'll be honest with you, compared to an 850, you will never notice the difference. You just won't. What might matter is the endurance of the drives. I'm not sure which has more endurance. You'd have to go look on it, watch some other reviews. I don't have 980 Pro. But I do not think you would notice the difference in speed ever. There's barely any difference. You might notice the difference in price, and you might notice the difference in endurance, and I would be paying attention to those. Anyway, let's move on to the 2 terabyte capacity. So this is interesting. This is a $530 drive. What? Okay, that makes no sense to me. I mean, why would you buy that? I mean, you can get 2 1 terabytes for a lot cheaper. Personally, I would just get this. This is on Amazon right now. It's actually a decent, not a great sale, 20% off. It's okay. But $300 versus over $500, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Just get a 750. You can almost get 2 of these, right, for that price. So, anyway, I personally would not recommend an SN850. I just wouldn't. I would say, you know, there's a lot of great, cheaper Gen 4 drives sort of in the middle that would be faster than this, than the 750, but not so much more expensive. So, if you ask me, I would say get an SN750 and the capacity you want. If you're doing, you know, transferring 4K video editing on huge files, you know, you're putting together a $10,000 build or a $5,000 build, well, yeah, go ahead and get the 850. It's an extra $100, you know, if it's an extra 5% on your whole computer's cost, you know, who cares, right? If you're building like a $1,000 PC, I would personally recommend like a Crucial P5. There was one, a terabyte Crucial P5 for around $90 on Prime Day. That is a really sick deal. You get, you know, there's deals like that, man. Those are just so much better than higher end drives. And I'll be honest, after going from a really fast Gen 3 to a really fast Gen 4, it's not that big a difference. I was expecting to be kind of wowed. I mean, quite literally, this is a 7 gigabytes per second drive, right? It's very, very fast. But so is the SN750, okay? So, you know, while this review isn't so scientific comparing, you know, tons of drives and different capacities and everything, I think I might have given you a bit of a real-world consumer experience here today, hopefully. And, I'll be honest though, I may not notice a huge difference between these 2 drives unless I'm doing like video editing or something like that. But I'll tell you, they are a huge difference from a relatively fast hard drive, right? You know, there's a lot slower than this one. There's also faster, but hard drives, they're great for storing content or, you know, stuff that you're not going to be accessing a lot. But man, you have to have an SSD in your system. I'm serious. Get a cheap Gen 3 drive. It's so worth it. I would honestly recommend getting a higher capacity than a faster speed as well, by the way. It just depends on what you're doing. For me, I edit a lot of video, do a lot of recording, and I need a lot of capacity, right? Other people might not. They might just prefer having a faster drive. Depends on how you want to spend your money. And keep in mind that in the future, you might be, oh man, I really wish I got more capacity. Or, oh, this is so slow. I have to edit off this hard drive. You know, for me, I was editing off a hard drive a lot because I simply didn't have the capacity to be editing, you know, large files. So, just saying, get a decent capacity and get a drive that isn't too expensive, you know, stay within your means and stop for deals, you know? An SN850 on a really good price, it's worth it if over a 750. Anyway, that's my verdict. See you guys in another video.